Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy. I've got 3 million reasons why you should not use your dad as a lawyer in court. Number one, his license. It's a CDL. How good is this? So good that the judge uses my favorite C word. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Good afternoon. This is file 438-5830 of 2024, State of Michigan versus Asma. And Mr. Olson is here on behalf of the prosecutor's office. Let's see, Miss Asma, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
It's Agama, but
Agama. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. And Mr. Olson, are you ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor. I would just note, administrative matter. At the informal hearing, the ticket in this case was amended to a different section of the vehicle code. That section is 257, or MCL 257.638, entitled overtaking and passing on the left of another vehicle, which is a civil infraction. I could read that to the court if for everyone's benefit, if that's okay. Section 257 6.38 reads, a vehicle shall not be driven to the left side of the center of a 2-lane highway or in the center lane of a 3-lane highway in overtaking and passing another vehicle proceeding in the same direction unless the left side or center lane is clearly visible and is free of oncoming traffic for a sufficient distance ahead to permit the overtaking and passing to be completely made without interfering with the safe operation of a vehicle approaching from the opposite direction or the vehicle overtaken. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So then the way this works, Ms. Agama, is the prosecutor will present his evidence. Looks like that's going to be Trooper Coric. And do you have any other witnesses, Mr. Olson?
Yes, Your Honor. We would be calling Belinda DeBlock.
Okay, and Ms. DeBlock. And then you'll have a chance to cross-examine his witnesses. And then you'll have a chance to testify yourself and present any witnesses that you might have. And it looks like you might have Robert Agama testify on your behalf. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then the prosecutor will get a chance to cross-examine Mr. Agama, or if you testify, he'll get to cross-examine you. Then I'll give both sides a chance to present brief closing arguments at the end. So, Mr. Olson, why don't you go ahead and call your first witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. The people would call Belinda DeBlock.
Ms. DeBlock, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, put your hand down and go ahead, Mr. Olson.
Thank you. Can you please state your full name and spell your last name for the court record, please?
Belinda Marie DeBlock, Delta Echo Bravo Lima Oscar Charlie Kilo.
And Ms. DeBlock, directing your attention to August 12th of this past year in the morning hours of that day, were you working?
Yes, I was.
What type of work do you do, or what type of work were you doing at that time of day?
I work for hospice in Michigan, so I was en route to a patient home.
And that morning at approximately 8:12 a.m., did you have a reason to call 911?
Yes, I did.
What was the reason for calling 911?
I was in an accident.
Where were you? Can you describe to the court where you were located when this crash occurred?
I was in Kingsley, Michigan. I typically don't work for Traverse, but I was up helping out the Traverse team. So I was driving out there en route to a patient's home. And as I was getting ready to turn, the Dodge sideswiped me, or as I was turning, and ended up pinned. And so, yes, we were in the middle of the road and had to call 911. And
Do you recall Do you recall what road you were driving on?
I do not recall what road I was driving on.
You indicated this address that you were going to was in Kingsley, Michigan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you know whether that address or the area where this accident or crash occurred was in Grand Traverse County?
I had to pull my my incident report for work. And so due to HIPAA and everything else, that the location of incident that is written down is Kingsley, Michigan.
Did you, before we get into remaining at the scene, can you describe a little more detail what you were doing in your car and what, if anything, the other car that you described did immediately before the crash?
Okay, so I was en route to patient home looking for the patient's address. I slowed down, put my blinker on. I slowed down some more as I was proceeding to turn into the driveway. A gray Dodge Ram 1500 sped up to pass me on my left and ended up hitting my driver's side with their passenger side.
Do you know, can you describe what kind of road this was?
It was a paved road, 2 lane.
Was there, how many lanes in each direction were there? If you recall.
One going each direction.
Okay. And immediately before the crash, you indicated you had your turn signal on. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you describe the speed that you were going at that moment in time?
I was getting ready to turn, so I was slowing down.
And that
I was turning left into a driveway, so I was very slow.
And do you recall which direction, whether it was north, south, east, west, if you remember which direction you were driving?
Well, I remember the sun was directly in front of me, so I was heading into the sun.
So then this was the morning, is that correct?
Yes.
So that would be east, is that correct?
Yes.
After the crash, did you speak to somebody on a central dispatch line or 911?
Yes.
And then what did you and, if anything, the other driver do with your vehicles?
So when we first hit and stopped, I was pinned in. So, you know, she rolled out the window, asked me if I was okay. I said, I think so, but my car's not. I can't, you know, get out. Obviously, I'm pinned in. I stuck my phone out the window and took some photos of where our vehicles were pinned together. We called 911. We were asked if we could move our vehicles to move them off the side of the road, which we did. We exchanged insurance information, phone numbers, photos of our vehicles, waited for the trooper to arrive. I did have to pick my mirror up off where it had fallen off the side of the road and threw those pieces in my trunk, and waited for the trooper to arrive.
When you said your vehicles were pinned together, what side of the vehicle of your car sustained damage?
My front driver's side, my driver's side door. I couldn't open my driver's side door to get out. I actually had to climb in and out of the passenger side.
And do you recall what kind of vehicle was being driven by the other driver?
It was a Dodge Ram 1500.
Is that a truck?
Yes, sorry, pickup truck.
And what part of the truck made contact with your vehicle?
It's front passenger.
After you stopped, did you and the other driver remain there until the trooper arrived?
Yes.
And were your vehicles still pointed in the same direction that they were both traveling?
Yes, I was on the right side of the road and she was on the left side.
Do you see the driver of the other vehicle anywhere on the screen today?
No.
Barry, you don't remember what she looks like?
I saw her when she came on.
Okay. But you don't recognize anyone as being the driver, is that correct?
Right. I mean, other than, yeah, she was there.
Were there any passengers in your vehicle?
No.
And what about the Dodge Ram pickup truck? Other than the driver, were there any passengers in that vehicle?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your answer. It came up garbled.
No.
Did you talk with the other driver before the trooper arrived?
Yes. She,
Did-
we
did the
checked to
driver
make
make
sure
any-
we were okay.
Okay, let me follow that up. Did the driver of the other vehicle make any statements about how the accident happened to you?
She said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see your blinker."
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
All right. See. Ms. Agama, do you have any questions for the witness?
Yes.
Go ahead.
How fast do you believe you were going down Wall?
I was not going fast at all because I was slowing down to turn.
And what was the speed limit on Walton Road?
I don't know what the speed limit was because I was turning.
And your car is 15.3 feet long. How far before your turn did you finally realize where you were going?
Cannot answer that question for you.
When we hit, were you focused on finally finding where you were going? You forgot to check that it was clear and safe to turn.
No, I had the right of way. I had my blinker on. I was focusing on turning in the drive, not on who was behind me.
How far before making a turn are you required to use your turn signal?
Enough to know that I'm clear to turn.
When I was passing you, was there any oncoming traffic?
No, there was not.
From the evidence from the damage on your car, where was I when we hit?
From the evidence we submitted to our insurance companies, you had pinned my door and my mirror was on the side of the road. So your front side was in my side.
Had we not hit and you had stayed in your lane, do you believe I could have passed you without interfering your direct line of travel?
Are you saying if I wasn't turning, would you be able to pass me?
Right.
If I was going straight
Yes.
and you sped up to go around me and it was clear, then yeah, you probably could have cleared. I mean, that's kind of how that works.
Is it possible that if you had your turn signal on, that it was alongside of you and could not see your blinker? That I was alongside of you and I could not see your blinker. Like,
Oh, no,
if I was on
I had it on well before I turned.
I believe that is all.
All right, Mr. Olson, any additional questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, then call your next witness, please.
People would call Matthew Coric.
All right, and sir, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You put your hand down and go ahead, Mr. Olson.
Could you please state your first and last name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Yes, sir. It's Matthew Coric, Korzek.
And how are you employed?
I'm a Michigan State Trooper assigned to the Traverse City Post.
And how long have you been a Michigan State Trooper?
A little over 26 years.
Direct your attention to August 12th of this year. Were you working and on duty that day?
Yes, I was.
At approximately 8:12 a.m., were you dispatched to a location within Grand Traverse County?
Yes, I was. I was dispatched to Walton Road near Hodge Road, which would be the township of Fife Lake in Grand Traverse County.
Is that Walton Road? Is that near the old Pugsley Correctional Facility?
Yes, it is. It runs east and west.
And when you arrived there, what did you see?
I saw two vehicles on both shoulders. Miss DeBlock's vehicle was on the south shoulder, and Miss Agama, her Dodge pickup, was on the north shoulder of the roadway.
And what direction were each of those vehicles positioned as far as which direction were they facing?
Yes, Miss DeBlock's vehicle is facing east, and Miss Agama's vehicle is also facing east.
And this location where you responded to, is that in Grand Traverse County, Michigan?
Yes, it is.
After you arrived there, did you identify the drivers of each vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And did you identify the driver of the pickup truck that was present?
Yes, I did.
And who was that?
Her first name is Cody and last name is Agama. And that would have
And
been
you-
from her driver's license.
And did she self-identify herself as the driver of that vehicle?
Yes, she did.
Do you see her anywhere on the screen here today?
Yes, I do.
And if you do, can you describe an article of clothing or what she's wearing?
Yeah, she's wearing a mauve or light red shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the identification of Miss Agma?
It will.
Thank you. Did you observe any passengers in either vehicle when you arrived?
No, I did not. Both drivers advised that they were by themselves.
And did you speak to did you speak to Miss Agama at the scene about what happened?
Yes, I did.
And what, if anything, did she tell you about what happened immediately prior to the crash?
She advised me that she didn't think that she saw the turn signal that Miss DeBlock advised that she had turned on to turn left, and that she was attempting to pass Miss DeBlock's vehicle as Miss DeBlock was turning left into a private drive.
Did she describe the speed at which Miss DeBlock was driving when she attempted to overtake the vehicle?
She advised that Miss DeBlock was slowing down. I don't recall exactly what the speed was of her vehicle or what she told me.
Did you also look at the two vehicles that were involved?
Yes, I did.
And did you observe damage that was consistent with what each driver's description of what happened?
Yes, it was.
Can you just briefly describe what damage you saw?
Yes, there would have been damage on the front driver's side of Miss DeBlock's vehicle, as well as the driver's side door, which was consistent with her making a left-hand turn. In Miss Agama's Dodge pickup truck, it was consistent with right passenger front damage, consistent with what Miss Agama told me.
The road that this occurred on, can you describe how many lanes of travel there are in each direction?
Yes, it's not a very well-traveled road. It is paved. There's an east lane and west lane. It's, I believe, unposted at 55 miles per hour.
And this portion of a road where this crash occurred, can you describe whether the road is curved or straight or how the terrain of the road was?
It's a straight roadway and it's flat.
At the conclusion of being on scene, did you issue one of the drivers a citation?
Yes, I did. I issued Miss Agama a citation for improper passing.
And can you explain the reason why you issued that citation?
Based upon driver's statements, the vehicle damages, the preponderance of the evidence was that Miss Agama improperly passed Miss DeBlock's vehicle, and that's why the citation was issued.
Can you describe the weather conditions that day?
It was dry. It was a summer day, and the sun was rising. Clear conditions.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Agama, do you have any questions for the trooper?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Are you aware of MCL 257.642 and MCL 257.648?
Not by number. I would have to look them up.
This MCL 257.642. If a roadway is divided into two or more clearly marked lanes for traffic, the following rules in addition to all other rules that are consistent with this act apply. A vehicle must be driven as nearly as practicable entirely within a single lane and must not be moved from the lane until the operator has first ascertained that the movement can be safely made. In MCL 257648, the operator of a vehicle or bicycle on a highway before stopping and turning from a direct line shall first determine that the stopping or turning can be made safely and shall give a signal as required in this section. Who is responsible to make sure Mr. Block's turn be made safely?
The driver of the vehicle,
Of which vehicle?
Miss DeBlock, she made her left-hand turn with no traffic coming the opposite direction.
Do you believe I could have hold on. Not this. Do you believe I could not have complied this pass safely if Mr. Block had not turned into me?
I'm not sure if I understood your question.
Judge, I'm going to object that this is speculation and he has no personal knowledge of what he's being asked.
I don't either.
All right. Well, I have to agree. This calls for speculation on the officer's part, and so I'll sustain the objection. Next question, Ms. Agama.
Have you ever passed slow-moving traffic off a road?
Yes, I have.
Okay. How many times?
I can't guess. Thousands of times.
Nice. I'm all set.
All right, Mr. Olson, anything else for you?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, then, Ms. Agama, do you wish to call your, is that your father?
Yes.
Okay, do you wish to call your father as a witness?
Yes, please.
Okay, so, sir, if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down, and if you could start by telling us your first and last names.
Robert Agama.
And you are the father of the defendant in this case, Cody Agama. Was that a yes? Looks like there's an audio problem, maybe.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So go ahead and ask your questions, Ms. Agama.
What is your driving experience?
I'm a CD holder, CDL holder. I've had my CDL since 1994. In that 30 years of driving, I've only been involved in one accident. At all accidents. Literally turned thousands and thousands of miles a year. The course of 30 years of driving, I've turned over 3 million miles. When I took my CDL test, one of the requirements was to make a left turn. When I made that left turn, the tester noticed I didn't look in the mirror and check to make sure that nobody was coming behind me. I got marked down for that. And I was kind of pissed because I told the tester I had my blinker on.
Judge, I'm going to object to the further answer that's coming. I believe this is hearsay, and I'm not sure if it's relevancy.
Okay, I guess I'm not quite sure what is coming. And also, Mr. Agama, I'm having difficulty hearing you. Something you changed about your audio is causing me to get an echo. So if you could maybe try to change that back. I know you weren't coming through at all for a minute there, but let's try to fix that first. Oh, now I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you just fine. Okay. What is the question again, Miss Agama?
I was asking him about his driver experience.
Okay, so I've heard him establish he's driven over 3 million miles, and so I've got all that, CDL and everything. So what else do you want to ask him about? Now you're muted, ma'am. Okay, go ahead.
What the requirements of MCL 26. Requirements.
What's the requirements for MCL 257.642?
Well, it clearly states in here that a vehicle must be driven as nearly as practical entirely within a single lane and must not be moved from that lane unless the operator has first ascertained that the movement can be made safely. Well, clearly Mr. Block didn't check your rearview mirror or look over the
Objection,
hill,
Judge.
as the evidence on the car shows that.
Hey, hang on, Mr. Agama. The prosecutor's objecting to your response. What is the objection, Mr. Olson?
Judge, Mr. Agama, although he does have driving experience, it appears that he's testifying as an expert. I don't think he's been qualified as an expert in crash reconstruction. He's testifying as to the circumstances of the crash when he was not present there for it.
Okay, so it does seem that you're attempting to substitute the witness's judgment for this court's own judgment about what happened based on the facts of the law. Ms. Agama.
Yes, the law clearly states that.
I'm talking to Ms. Agama, not you, Mr. Agama. So I'm asking Ms. Agama. She's representing herself, so I need to ask her. What's your response?
To what he just said?
Yeah.
That he was just answering the question.
Okay, so this is the thing. The court is familiar with the law. If you have factual questions you want to ask this witness about what happened, go ahead. But I'm not going to rely on speculation from other witnesses who weren't there. That is this court's decision to decide whether or not the facts that are known add up to a violation of the traffic code. So do you have any other questions for this witness, Ms. Agama?
I do not.
Okay. Then did you want to testify yourself, Ms. Agama?
No.
Okay. So do you have any argument, Mr. Olson?
Yes, Your Honor. Just briefly, MCL section 257-.638 speaks to a vehicle that's overtaking another to pass it. The vehicle in the front has the right of way. This is not a situation where there's two lanes in each direction, where there was a lane change or an improper lane change from the vehicle ahead. There's a myriad of other vehicle code requirements of following a safe distance, ensuring that that a vehicle can be safely overtaken. Ms. DeBlock testified very clearly that her blinker was on for quite a bit of time before she made the turn. And it's likely that I think, based on the evidence, I think the court can reason that based on statements that were made by Ms. Agama, that she just simply did not see the turn signal and tried to overtake Ms. DeBlock's vehicle. And so for those reasons, Your Honor, we would ask that you find Ms. Agama responsible. Thank you.
Ms. Agama, any argument?
No.
Okay, so the argument by the prosecutor is that the defendant violated the motor vehicle code by overtaking and passing on the left. And what that section provides is that a vehicle proceeding in the same direction shall not overtake and pass unless the left side or center lane is clearly visible and is free of oncoming traffic for a sufficient distance ahead to permit the overtaking and passing to be completely made without interfering with the safe operation of a vehicle approaching from the opposite direction or the vehicle overtaken. In this case, the vehicle that was being overtaken, the only testimony is that Ms. DeBlock says she had her blinker on. Now, if there were some question about whether the blinker was on or not, I might have a different opinion about this. Although Ms. DeBlock also testified she was slowing to make her left-hand turn. And so you certainly a driver approaching from the rear would have seen the brake lights on and the vehicle slowing. And so in the absence of any other testimony about the facts here, it's not disputed the damage to the vehicles was consistent with Ms. DeBlock's description. But anyhow, what matters is the only testimony I have is that Ms. DeBlock was turning left, had her signal on, was slowing down to make the turn. Her brake lights would have been illuminated, and therefore passing on the left was dangerous and certainly unexpected by Ms. DeBlock. I suppose if she had looked up just at the right moment, she might have seen a vehicle was passing on the left, but that would be very surprising to anyone that was doing all the right things to make the left turn. And anyhow, I do find a violation of MCL 257.638. And let's see, the amount of the ticket is going to be $145. You'll need to call our district court to take care of that. There is a hefty late charge if you don't pay within a certain amount of time. So make sure you don't run afoul of that. Is there anything else for you, Mr. Olson?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Or for you, Ms. Augerman?
So it was paid prior to this hearing. Do we have to do that again?
In order to bring the appeal. So
yeah.
Nope, if it's been paid, you're all set then. And appreciate your time today, Ms. DeBlock and Officer Coric, and we're all set. Feel free to sign off at this time.
It's her responsibility.
Mr. Agama, you will be held in contempt if I hear any more statements like that one.
Thank you, Your Honor.